She's always good about that.
She makes really good drinks.
Okay, so I think we are live. So thank you guys for coming on. For those of people who are watching on different platforms, this is Deep Cuts. So this is my little interview show. Outside of everything else that I do, people who follow me on Instagram know all the little different things that I do and am involved with. But I like to bring to light different brands that I know of, and we just sit here and talk about the brands and the different releases. So today we have on Peter and Janelle from Atl Cigar Company. It's a slightly newer brand. They've been around for a bit now, so I don't know if they can call themselves new, but it's a newer brand on the market, and I think they're doing some cool things. So I just wanted to us to all get together today and kind of chat. I know we tried this on Instagram a couple months ago, and we had some technical difficulties, so people kind of missed it. So I thought, what better way to kind of open Deep Cuts back up than getting you guys to come back on. So thank you so much for taking out another hour of your life to chat with me.
Well, thanks for having us back on. Yeah, we definitely appreciate the redo.
Yeah. So if you all just want to introduce yourselves, just tell people, who you are and what kind of role you have in Atl Cigar Company. I think that would be a good place to start.
I can start off. Hey, everyone. My name is Janelle Lamar. I'm the Director of Marketing. I'm actually also the wife of Leroy Lamar, who's our president, who is not here today. He got caught up at a shop with one of our retailers. But as Director of Marketing, I am responsible for social media, events. I kind of pick up a lot of other things behind the scenes, some financial things, some technology things, a little bit of everything. So, you know how that goes.
And I'm Peter. I'm head of products, and I'm not married to either Janelle or Leroy Lamar. Well, I kind of am now, actually.
You are. You're like my other work husband, like Leroy.
It's going to get weird real quick, so let's just move on, shall we? So I'm head of products. I am responsible for identifying, the partners we're going to work with, working on blends, so we can figure out, what the Atlanta market really needs that it doesn't have, and really just ensuring that ATL Cigar Co. products live up to the name on the band, because you can't put ATL on a cigar and it kind of come halfway. So we feel a lot of pressure from our city, but it also is a great opportunity to provide the city and our other retail partners outside of Atlanta with cigars that are fresh and different, because we have a unique perspective and also the highest quality.
So I think a good question to ask, especially in these days and times with the FDA and regulations, is why would you want to start a cigar brand right now? And I'm sure you've gotten that question a lot.
Yeah, I think it is a time of change. The FDA has been looking at these questions for a really long time, and we think they're going to continue to look at the questions. I think the PCA and CRA and others are doing a great job of advocating for premium cigar makers. This is not an industry that appeals to children. This is not a product that children are smoking or want to smoke. You can't bring this down the halls of a high school. And so, we think that that's going to end up in the industry's favor. Obviously, we support what, our trade associations are doing 100%. So I think for us, we thought, let's not make a decision based on, a regulatory cloud. Let's make it instead on the basis of, the world's greatest cigar city, and the fact that, we thought they needed a great cigar. And so we decided to move that way and let the city carry us until, the FDA's regulations finally come down at some kind of permanent place where we can then all navigate to the future that, that's in store for us.
And do you have anything to add to that story, Janelle?
No, good answer, Peter. Trying to light my cigar here.
Yeah, and I guess that's always a question people want to know. So, and we'll get back into the, different lines that ATL has to offer. But tell us what you're smoking today, and in your case, Peter, also what you're drinking.
I am smoking our third line that we came out with. It's the ATL Libertad, and it's our more medium to full-bodied Nicaraguan puro. I'm drinking some ginger ale to go along with it.
Hardcore.
Yeah, I know, hardcore.
I'm smoking our ATL Magic, which is not out yet. It comes out on October 16th. It's produced at Ace Prime, Tabacalera, Pichardo, and Esteli, blended in partnership with Luciano Morelis. And I am oscillating between coffee and a rum concoction that my wife brought me, just to kind of see what happens to the cigar with very different kind of antecedents beverage-wise. And yeah, it does bring out different flavors when you shake things up. I think to get into some of the deep water a little bit, Antoine, I think that one of the things we like to recommend our customers do is to smoke 2 cigars at the same time to see, especially if you have a cigar that's high on salivation level. Because if you have a cigar that's high on salivation, it's going to cleanse your palate to go back to the other cigar. So light up cigar A, put it down, light up cigar B, and then go back to cigar A. Try 2 drinks, try to kind of compare things, because you will find that different pairings, food as well, obviously, bring different flavors out in great cigars. Not bad cigars, but great cigars, we'll find different flavors based on what you pair with them.
Yeah, I actually was at a wedding last weekend, and I had the Magic, our ATL Magic with us. I had 1 stick, so I was showing people like, this is coming down the pipe. But I actually had a cab, a red wine, and it was really interesting. I wasn't really paying attention to the cigar or the wine because I was just kind of in conversation with people. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like I kind of noticed like that my wine was like enhanced, and I was like, "Oh, I love this red wine with a cigar." It was really interesting how it just kind of took me away for a second.
I know I was doing a tasting event with Casada a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about different ways to kind of clean your palate in between different cigars. So I'm just curious, maybe this is one of those deep cuts moments, but how do you all like to clean your palate during these different, when you say smoke the 2 cigars, obviously they might not be the same blend, so they might, you don't want people to get that weird taste in their mouth. So how would you suggest, or how do you like just clean out your palate?
I'm a sparkling water guy, so whenever I'm doing like proper tasting of individual fumas or different blends or new samples or whatever, it's sparkling water for me.
Yeah, one of the things that I found was really interesting. I like coconut water, and so I actually, when I'm smoking a cigar for the first time and I just kind of want to enjoy and experience just the cigar, I find that coconut water is cleansing, and it kind of helps me reset.
Wow. I know somebody on the Casada tasting thing had said tomato juice. That was their favorite palate cleansing. So it was something completely different.
Interesting.
I don't know, I don't know if that, works, but
acid, right? Like whatever you're going to use that's acidic is going to help you out.
So let's talk about Atlanta, because obviously that plays a big role in your cigar. And I think for people who haven't been to Atlanta, it has a humongous cigar culture. And I know that I think a couple weeks ago, you all just had Atlanta Cigar Week going on. So, just talk about what it's like in Atlanta, what the cigar culture is, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we just did, like you said, Antoine, we just came out of Atlanta Cigar Week, and then the following week was the Atlanta Cigar Experience. And so you have, scores and hundreds of people coming in from all over the country into Atlanta. Atlanta is the #1 cigar city in terms of, consumption and the number of like retailer lounges and shops in the city. And it's really interesting. I think when we started, I don't know that we knew the exact numbers, but we knew that Atlanta was influential in cigar culture, and so we just want to continue to be a part of that.
Yeah, so there were like 17 nights straight, Antoine, of events in Atlanta around cigars and days. So it's fucking exhausting for those of us in the industry. But I think that it just sort of cements Atlanta's place as a destination for cigars. It's not just the weeks, the cigar weeks and the cigar experience from Cigar Mike, but there are 10 to 15 ladies smoke nights per week somewhere in the city. There are, I was at an event at a Serre Lounge in West Atlanta with Desiree from Jump Chicken 3-4 months back. And, it was a couple hundred people, it was packed. It was, midnight. She was like, it's amazing that Atlanta has stuff like this. Like, just to come to a place that's a cigar bar that's like lit like this is amazing. I said, Desiree, there's 30 places like that right now that feel just like this. It's just, there's nowhere else that parties like Atlanta does, especially around cigars. I mean, people know us for other kind of parties too, and it just carries over into the cigar culture. And I think that what it does is it just elevates the connection, the community. You see different people all around the city in different places, and it's just a family.
Yeah, and there's such a broad spectrum of experiences, right? So you can have like the small mom and pop, small lounge where it kind of feels like your living room. It kind of feels like a little bit of Cuba, all the way up to like, the multi-million-dollar, fancy lounges, Fellowship, Cam Newton, Spot, so there's like this huge range. And so you can find your spot, there's so many lounges and stores and retailers here that this is someone's spot. Like my spot is Montana Cigars, or my spot is Havana, or there's a spot for everyone. There's a place for everyone. There's a vibe, and it's just amazing to see the plethora and the range of different experiences and environments.
Do either of you have a favorite Atlanta kind of cigar spot? Or is it kind of like choosing
retailers?
I was about to say, or is it like choosing your favorite child's and Sophie's choice moment?
Correct. My favorite spot is my porch, where I am right now.
Well, I think that's a good part to kind of jump off too. Is like, how did you all meet? Because I know how you all met, but for those who are going to be watching this in playback mode, kind of tell us that story of how you three, because I know you're missing a partner right now, but how you three kind of came together.
So I'll start it off, and Peter, you can kind of jump in. So Leroy and I, we've been married for 20 years. Leroy's originally from Atlanta, grew up, went to Tucker High, born and raised in Decatur. He's an Atlanta boy, true and true. And we met in college. And so at the ripe young age of 23, he and I got married. I moved to Atlanta and called Atlanta home. And around 2004, we decided to move into this neighborhood that we're currently in. We've been here in Southwest Atlanta in Capitol View for 17 years.
Swats.
And right across the street from us is where we actually met Peter and his wife, Jessica, for the first time. They were actually just on their way out of moving out of that house into another house in the neighborhood. And so, for the past 15, 16, 17 years, it's been porch visits, dinners, conversation after conversation, primarily between Leroy and Peter in terms of philosophy, theology, over craft beers, scotch, whiskey, cigars, all of that amazingness.
Yeah, I think the other element I would add is that Leroy and I, and my wife Jessica as well, we had just come out of seminary, so we were not going to be pastors, and the church should be glad that we're not pastors. But we cared a lot about what we're going to do after that experience, and so we moved in to the SWATs, all four of us, because we wanted to be intentional about where we lived and to try to make a difference in a part of the city that just kind of didn't get enough attention at the time. And it's come a long way since then, but it's still got a long way to go. It's a place with a lot of depth and a lot of soul in Atlanta. But the public attention it gets is often in the form of law enforcement. And so, we had a lot of stuff happening in that neighborhood. And one of the things Leroy and Janelle and I did was to start a thing called Prayer and Hot Dogs, which was across the street from a trap house, just up the street from where we lived. We just went over there on Sunday nights and set up a table and cooked hot dogs and gave them away till they were gone. And the first few weeks, they thought we were the cops. And then after like 3 or 4 weeks, the trap house just kind of shut down, and they emptied out and came and hung out with us. And even like the doughboys were like, "Hey man, I appreciate what y'all doing, man." I'm just like, dude, we're here for you. Like, what are you talking about? But it became this community where we got, gentrifiers, yuppies, church ladies, trap queens, all at the same team, all at the same table, all in the same place and interacting. And, out of that, Leroy developed a real passion for people involved in, some of the life in the shadows of that neighborhood or of that community. So he started a nonprofit 15 years ago, now called Comprehensive Community Services, that works with people involved on the street that like no one else wants to work with. This is sex work. This is vulnerable work. These are vulnerable populations. That's what Leroy has done for 15 years. And it kind of started out of the 4 of our passion for the neighborhood. And so, I think that for us, it was always about purpose and soul and kind of what really matters at the end of the day. And this business is really just an extension of that. I think we want to step into a moment where our city and our nation are fractured and show that a white guy, a Filipino woman, a black guy can have this real deep abiding, love for one another that we can hopefully extend out to the rest of our city and the rest of our country. I know that sounds ambitious, but we are ambitious because we think that the city needs healing, and we want to be a part of that.
So when the idea to start your own cigar brand came about, what was that discussion like? Because again, I always think people are in love with this idea of having their own cigar brand. And then when you get into the nitty gritty of like, okay, now how do we actually make this happen? It's a completely different ballgame. So how did you all go from like, wow, this might be a cool idea to like actually making it happen?
Yeah, so I've smoked about 10,000 cigars in 50 countries over 20 plus years, and it's kind of just always been what I do. Leroy and I would smoke together a lot as well. And Janelle picked up the habit a little bit later, maybe 7-8 years ago, where she was smoking frequently. And around that point, we just started kind of rolling our own products. So we would get whole leaf, and it's just kind of blend Ometepe with Esteli with Jalapa, 2 Ligero in this blend, 3 Ligero in that blend, add a little bit of Seco from this region or a little bit of Easter from that region. And, the first few batches of cigars we did just weren't terrible. I thought they would be awful. And they weren't bad. And we said, I wonder if we can kind of figure this out, because, what you're told from the outside as a consumer is, this is a very mysterious old world process that happens in dark rooms with guys who have to have Cuban nationality to get a license to roll cigars, and yes, there's a lot of important work that goes into, from seed to smoke, right? It's 300 hands, it's 1,000 days. It is work, and it's very important that you get every single thing right to get the quality that this cigar has. But at the same time, this is a weed that you plant in the ground, right? You prime it, you cut it up, you hang it in a barn, you put it in some pilones, transition to some burros, figure out how much fermentation you want, roll it up and light it on fire. And so at the end of the day, I think that, figuring that out and saying, I think we can make decent cigars, was a little bit of, I don't know. It sounds like it's overconfident, but I think we just dove into the learning process and really didn't get excited about a brand until we thought, I think we get this. I think we get every single stage of the process and could try to make it work. And to be honest with you, this is where, Janelle can certainly add more. The marketing is incredible. The marketing is huge. If we do Antoine, Peter, and Janelle cigars, like, good luck, right? But we try to tap into the soul of this city and the kind of heartbeat of the city, and the city's rewarded us for that.
Yeah, I mean, when the conversations on the front porch between Peter, Leroy, and myself went from, oh, wouldn't this be fun, to like, hey, let's crunch some numbers. Let's see what it looks like to, bring this in, and, what's it going to cost for, this label, and kind of all those nitty gritty business all those fun business things that you have to do. I think what's great is that there's three of us, right? That we work together. We each have different strengths that help carry us three together and the company and the brand together. It's not perfect, but I think because of the established relationship that we have with Peter, I think that has a lot to do with how we've been able to push forward so quickly. When we first started, I remember the conversation, and I don't have the greatest memory, but I do remember having the conversation about, hey, if we do this, we have to remember that our relationship comes first. If at any point we feel like something is going to happen to cause the end of our friendship or the end of our marriage, then we're not in the right spot, right? We're not doing it right. We've strayed from the purpose of this. And part of that purpose is that idea of community. It is that idea of relationship. And because that's the kind of relationship that we had with each other to begin with, we want to be able to make sure that idea is infused in our brand with everything that we do. It's not just like this idea of like, hey, let's put ATL on this stick and make a bunch of money. It really is about community. And I think because we focus on that internally, and we try our best to make sure that it comes out externally through the brand and the things that we do.
That's something I want to add, Antoine, real quick before you go to the next question is, I don't know of another. So we launched end of January. We've sold about 30,000 cigars so far. We're in about 60 shops. I don't know of another newer brand that has three members pushing as hard as we three are. There's a lot of guys doing it kind of on their own or with maybe a partner who's kind of not really all in. All three of us are all into this. And I think that makes a huge difference for how much we can move, how much we can do on products, marketing, operations, finance, sales, all of it. There's no way that one of us could pull this off. So, it's really important. And I think that we've learned a lot about our complementary skill sets in this process. And I think we've learned that we have like kind of a perfect mix in a way of the three of us. And so, to Janelle's point, this business has made our friendship stronger and brought us a lot closer together. And it's not done the opposite. You don't have easy days every day, but when you have tough conversations, you have human conversations after that, and you apologize when you need to, and you try to be real. And so I think that way of working is a big part of our success.
And I think that's an important thing to talk about is, finding that balance, like you were talking about, Janelle, between the business and the friendship, because I think so many people, when you go into business for yourself, the first thing you think about is like, who can I wrap into this idea with me? And you want to go to your friends, but then you find that line is easily crossed and you can easily get, I think, annoyed, with the business version of your friend. And so how do you kind of like I said, manage all of that and just not drive yourself crazy and like you said, and maintain that friendship without having an argument and saying like, I'm not going to talk to this person for another 5 days now, or I'm just going to separate myself from this person. And how do you manage that?
Well, this wasn't an overnight situation. We talked about this for years before we even, applied for the license. In fact, it was Peter, the one that kind of helped us pull the trigger. All of a sudden, he's like, "Hey guys, I applied for the license." We were like, "Oh shit, okay." But we had been talking about it. So the idea, the principles behind, why we wanted to be in business and the constant conversations about making sure that, of course, in the beginning stages, you don't know what it's going to look like, right? You don't know what it's going to feel like to have those internal conflicts and like, oh gosh, like Leroy made this decision, or Leroy wants to do this, or Peter wants to do this. And I'm like, I don't know if I agree. I I think because of the level of relationship that we have, we are able to, you know, we've just committed to each other that we would be honest, and that we would be honest with each other, honest with ourselves. Like Peter said, I think, you know, for me, I mean, I could probably say this for all three of us, but, you know, speaking for myself, I know that I personally have grown a lot. And a lot of it has to do with, you know, the pushing that Peter and Leroy, you know, do for me. Like, hey, like, help me get out of my comfort zone. And so, you know, there's a lot of positive things behind it, but, you know, I guess going back to your question, just the idea of just committing to be honest and to be real. And when I do feel like I need a break, then yeah, I just kind of take a break. But, you know, we've never gotten to that point where I'm like, I want to take a permanent break from Leroy, a permanent break from Peter. Like, I think, you know, we're all human, right? We all have, we have our own personalities, and, you know, like we talked about before, we have our own different strengths, and we play, you know, we use those to our advantage as best as we can.
The only thing I'll add to that is that we have a rule in our team that all three of us have to love something for the idea to move forward. And I think that possibly has led us to avoid some good ideas, but it's ensured that all the things we do pursue are great ideas. And, you know, that's something that I didn't appreciate before we started this, is just how much that kind of standard would set a bar of excellence for us. And I think we've been able to maintain that.
And to go off of something that Janelle had also mentioned, figuring out your why. Like, how important was that when you figured out like why you're in business? Like, how important was that to like actually getting things done?
Well, yeah, none of us cares about money. And I think that really matters a lot. Like, we will probably make money at this business. It feels great, but none of us cares about that. And so, you know, one of the principles that we have is that a percentage of our profits will always go to local nonprofits, because we really care about building up the city and care about a brand for the city that gives back. That's very much at the heart of who we are. So I think our why is clearer than most, right? It's not just a cigar. It's also community. In fact, we talk about it straight up on our website that, you know, it's more than just about great cigars. It's also about building this togetherness that we feel like we're lacking as a city and a nation. And that's a pretty easy thing to get out of bed in the morning and do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback on that, that idea of like Atlanta, you know, when it makes sense, we definitely try to support other Atlanta businesses and people in Atlanta. I mean, you know, some of our most recent marketing efforts, you know, we work with the Cork Bros, and they're out of Atlanta, and, you know, we have we do a lot of our printing with an Atlanta-based printing company. So there's a lot of other behind the scenes things that we do to try to make sure that we support small businesses in Atlanta, minority owned, women owned businesses. So yeah, there's a lot of like small intentional things that we try to do to kind of bring them all together. And again, it kind of goes back to that, the ATL, it comes back to Atlanta, and we want to be able to do what we can in different ways to support the city.
So I get the sense that community is a big part of ATL Cigar Company and everything that you all are doing.
Yeah, definitely.
When it comes to you created your cigars, how did you find the manufacturing partners? Because I feel like that's something that a lot of people are willing to talk about, but then they kind of skirt around it in a weird kind of way. Like, I know I asked somebody that question a couple weeks ago, and they were like, well, I don't want to tell who I'm working with because I don't want everybody to start going and working with them. I was like, but how do you know they're not already working? People are already working with that one person. So how did you find the right manufacturing partners for you all?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm not sure why that's a thing. I don't know why people hide that. I think the only reason that they might hide it is because they don't want to tell, because it's, you know, I think a lot of people are going down and buying 3,000 or 4,000 cigars from some guy in Orlando or Tampa or Miami and putting labels on. And I think that's not helpful to the industry. You know, we didn't do that. We went to Aganorsa kind of first to see if they would work with us. And when they said yes, we knew we would have something great because Aganorsa with Illusione and Warped and Foundation and Guardian of the Farm and JFR and HVC, like phenomenal cigars. And so we knew that by working with them and doing something unique with them that we would have a chance to really put out a cigar that our city could be proud of. Because Aganorsa, they brought on Terrence Riley in the last 3 or 4 years, and he's done an amazing job of building up that brand. But before that, people didn't really know, I think, as much that Aganorsa, sells like 80% of their leaf to everybody else, to Padron, to Drew Estate, to Plasencia, to all kinds of folks, because their leaf is phenomenal. And so starting with Aganorsa was a big, big issue for us. We then filled out our portfolio, worked with a small manufacturer in Esteli called Tabacalera Hernandez, and then a third manufacturer in New York called Martinez Cigars. And so, it is hard finding good manufacturers that will work with you and do the things you want. But we set the standards early on that we want well-fermented tobacco. A lot of people think you can go to a maker and say, hey, I want more cocoa in this blend, or I want more cream in this blend. You can't really do that. What you can do is say, all right, I really love, Ometepe Ligero, and I want to work on a blend built around that. I want to try, an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper, and then I want to trend that out for a Sumatra wrapper and see what happens. And so you can do that and kind of see what works. Manufacturers will work with you if they feel like you've got credibility and commitment. Recently, we've been very pleased to establish a relationship with Luciano Morales and Tabacalera Pichardo Ace Prime in Esteli. He did the Mil Diaz, he did the Juarez, he did, a lot of the Crown Head stuff. And, when he said yes to work with us, it was a big deal because we knew that his commitment to quality was really without peer and without, any kind of question. And so he agreed, and we're doing the ATL Magic with him. And so that's been a big part of it for us too, is just like taking the time to get these relationships right, demonstrating our commitment to those relationships and really fostering the relationship itself, because these guys can make cigars for anybody. And so to do them with you, you have to give them a reason why. And it's beyond just the check or the number of cigars you're going to order or whatever. They want to see your marketing plan. They want to see, your distribution through stores. They want to see, what's your vision for this? Where are you taking it? Because they don't want to jump on and just fill a 10,000 cigar order. They want to understand where those next 10,000 or 100,000 cigars are going to go and whether that's going to help them as a manufacturer or not. And I think that that's something that a lot of brands maybe don't take the time to do. In my experience, they'll find one guy in Santiago who makes cigars for them, and cigars are okay, and that's basically that. We took more time, and I think COVID helped us because the industry was, at least kind of early 2020, the industry was a little bit down. People didn't know what quite was going to happen. We didn't know we were in the middle of a huge cigar boom at the time, and so everyone was kind of just waiting it out, and that allowed us to go to Miami and meet everybody. And we said no to a lot of great makers, people that we respect very, very much. But we said no because the blends that we created with them just weren't perfect. And so that meant that we only went to market with, the ATL Black, the ATL Good Trouble, and the Libertad, which we really, really loved and felt that our city needed. And the Magic was held to that standard as well.
Are you I don't want to say afraid, but are you all cautiously kind of watching for the boom, this little unexpected mini boom to kind of burst?
So I don't think so. We're a growing brand, and I think we have a lot of runway in front of us. We are establishing a subsidiary to be able to fulfill orders outside of the state of Georgia at a kind of more favorable tax regime, let's say, before we kind of go national in 2022. But we have a long runway in front of us. I think that the one trend that worries me, actually, Antoine, is that, and I heard this in Esteli about 5-6 weeks ago, is that a lot of makers are taking shortcuts because of the demand. And so the demand is so high that they're thinking, let's just ferment this 3 or 4 months shorter. Let's take that tobacco now and put it in. It's a blend people already love. They'll be fine. I think it's going to hurt the industry in the long run if people take shortcuts. We're not willing to do that. And so we'll keep our quality high. And I think that's going to work in our favor to ensure that, what we put out as we go national in 2022 is going to tell the right story. I don't know, Janelle, if you want to add to that.
No, I think you pretty much hit it all there, Peter.
one of the things I've noticed is, you have more brands when they release. It used to be like when they released a new cigar, they would automatically tell you everything that was in that cigar in terms of tobacco. And now you're seeing more and more people kind of try to make it like, not, I don't want to say a secret, but they say undisclosed, undisclosed, undisclosed. Now, do you think that's because of the boom and maybe them anticipating needing to switch to different tobaccos, when that runs short, or what do you think is causing that trend?
That's certainly one of the reasons. For us, we don't shy away from that. We're happy to tell people what's in our wrapper, binder, filler. Again, if you want to copy my cigar straight up, like, okay, I guess, like, I'm bored by that. I don't want to do that. Because if I respect someone's cigar, I just want to have that cigar. I don't want to make that cigar. And so I'm not sure what that trend's about. I think that every brand has its own choices. Our choice is to disclose what's in our cigar and where it's made, because we feel like as a new brand, we've got to establish credibility and let you know that we're not just going to buy it from some back alley in Orlando. And so that's why we disclose where we make and what's in our cigar.
And I know another trend that we talked about during the Instagram Live a couple months ago is that finally, and I know Janelle spoke about this on the Instagram Live, it seems like the industry's like, oh yeah, women do like to smoke cigars, or our community is more diverse than we thought. So, I mean, have you noticed that finally it just seems to be the accepted norm rather than like the unicorn in the industry, like, oh, women smoke cigars?
Yeah, I definitely think so, especially here in Atlanta, where the number of cigar smokers are just kind of through the roof. I mean, like Peter was saying earlier, there are, you can go to a dozen lounges on a Friday night where they're having like Sister of the Leaf events. And as I continue to follow different people and kind of see things through social media, I do see that there are an increasing number of women who just aren't just a pretty face. It's not just a sex symbol for them. I mean, that's out there, but I don't know. That's women, I guess.
It's men, honey. It's men. Trust me.
Men, yes, that. But yes, it is good to see that. The respect level for women in the industry, knowledgeable women, women who are continuing to, refine their palate, refine their knowledge, and continuing to learn about the industry. And I guess just that idea of like, it's not that, we're not unicorns. I can be just as knowledgeable as you about fermentation, about, the different growing regions, and there he is.
I'm here. I made it.
This is our president, Leroy.
How we doing, everybody? How we doing?
Hi, Leroy. How are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Leroy, we're talking about women in the industry and minority-owned businesses, and so I think we'll have plenty to discuss now that you're here.
Yeah, I'm sorry to be late joining. Got caught up, so I'm glad to be here with everyone.
No, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
I was excited to have you all back because I was so upset that our first interview didn't, go well for whatever reason, and I was like,
same.
I know, and I was just like. Instagram Live. I was like, and then I was taking a break from it from the last couple of weeks. And I said, or last couple of months really. And I said, you know what? I was like, when I bring back deep cuts, when I've been working on this new setup and everything, I said, I wanted to get everybody back. And I think I want to start off with ATL because I felt like we talked about such great stuff and I could hear you all, but like other people couldn't. So I'm glad
I appreciate you bringing us back. I really do. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you. Like Leroy, I know Peter and Janelle have introduced themselves, but if you want to introduce yourself to those who are just tuning in, you can certainly do so.
Real quickly, I'm Leroy Lamar, president of Atl Cigar Co. Co-founder, all those wonderful things, and just so proud to be a part of an awesome team of folks, Janelle and Peter, who are deeply committed to the process of creating amazing cigars, but also very much committed to people, to persons, to individuals and communities, particularly our own here in Atlanta. So I feel extremely fortunate and lucky and blessed to have two remarkable teammates with me that that are as committed to the cigar as they are the community. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. I don't know what they said. They probably talked about family and kids and you know, I don't know what Peter said. Good Lord. But yeah. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
So, and this is a question for anybody who can start with the response, but what has your experience been so far as being kind of newbies in the industry? I don't really consider you all to be newbies now because it's been over a year. So you're kind of veterans now. I feel like in the cigar industry, if you can last a year, you're pretty much a veteran. So what has your experience been like? Just like working with the retailers and working with other manufacturers and dealing with the consumers now and trying to get, you know, some traction for all these different lines that you have.
We've been very fortunate and very blessed at the response that people have given us. You know, here in Atlanta, the retailers, you know, working with our manufacturers. I mean, the support that we've gotten has just been really great. Pleasantly surprising. You know, I've never worked in the cigar industry, so I didn't know what to expect, but you know, it's been great. People have really jumped on board with us, and it's great.
You know, I think one of the things I want to kind of tee up for Leroy is kind of answering that question as well as going back to one of the things you talked about before, Antoine. So, you know, the power of the black smoker in America is a story that has been a big part of the industry in the last 3 or 4 years, and we've had a number of large distributors, mostly online, reach out and say, what do we do about this? Because, you know, black smokers, black female smokers are showing up to our events. We don't know what to do. And I think that, you know, for us, it is important to capture, you know, the story of our community in Atlanta and to kind of represent, you know, the diversity in our brand through our customer base and really demonstrate that we don't need to be separate anymore. We can be together and do this thing together. And I think that has turned some heads and gotten people to ask some questions. I also think that we're trying to be a part of telling the story that, you know, a black-owned cigar, which we are, you know, can just be a cigar. You know, can just be a great cigar. And you know, I think that's kind of the next level for all of us, because the reality is that 3 or 4 years ago, if Leroy goes down to Esteli to get manufacturers to work with him, it's maybe not the greatest experience. And we've heard that from a number of owners of black-owned brands, and that's unfortunate. We're trying to be part of changing that narrative, and I think hopefully the market itself is going to lead the industry in that direction. But we'd like to kind of lead them there for the right reasons as well, not just the market size. I don't know, Leroy, if you want to pick up on that.
Yeah, I agree. It's amazing how people think market forces are enough to change narratives. And unfortunately, that's not the case in a lot of industries where people are like, just kind of for whatever reason, or I'm just kind of bought into my original narrative, and I'm not afraid of the risk and the loss I might take for taking a different approach. But it is almost getting to be the point where it's impossible to ignore, particularly here in Atlanta. It is impossible to ignore the black smoker here in Atlanta and their influence on the industry as a whole. Like Peter said, we talk to retailers, we talk to producers, and they're all asking questions like, "What do I do about this new demographic that I've never considered before? And how do I address them? How do I cater to them? How do I, you know, kind of not just get sales, but solidify them as loyal customers?" And so that has been fun for us to have that conversation with folks. But I think at the root of it, though, for like Peter says, like one of the things is the authenticity and the dedication to good cigars, right? And so, and to producing good cigars. And so the more folks that do that, you know, one of the things that I'm extremely proud of about us is while we're a Black owned company, you can see the diversity in our founder base. And that diversity plays a huge part in the back end of our conversations and discussions. It's not just that we want to be a Black owned company. We want to be a great cigar company, right? And so making sure that we keep that at the forefront of what we're doing is paramount and key, but also sharing that information with others, you know, breaking down those barriers, breaking down those stereotypes, and introducing and letting people see that Black smokers, brown smokers, diverse smokers are real and true smokers, and that we care about the product as well. That we're not just like, this isn't just for show. We're real smokers, and care deeply about our product. And so being able to do that and to be able to show the world that, and representing Atlanta in all of its breadth, in the cigar community, and saying, listen, the South has something to say as it relates to what is smoked, how it's smoked, and to be honest, it's not all that different from what you already smoking. We produce cigars that are on the same par. We go to the same manufacturers. We go to the same folks and are saying, listen, we want to produce cigars that are this quality and better. And so it's been a joy for us to be able to do that. To introduce new folks and to kind of break through those barriers and show something a little bit different. I'm proud of what we've done in that regard. Yeah.
And you can also see that in the events that we've put together. You know, we did a summer homestand at the with the Omni over at the Battery at the Brave Stadium. You know, you had all kinds of, you know, people there from all kinds of different demographics. We've done events with Monday Night Brewing, a local Atlanta-based beer company, and again, the demographic of people that are showing up at our events, they don't all look the same, and I think that's telling to what we were just talking about.
Yeah, and I think, you know, this video setup right here represents, like you said, the industry, and I think it's always been diverse. It's just for some reason it's been hard to, you know, get that message across to people. So it seems like maybe after 2020 and the events of the last couple of years, all of a sudden it was just like you said, maybe there are more retailers now that want to know, you know, how to handle diversity. But to me, it's just, you know, the representation matters. You know, the more that they see, you know, Black-owned cigar companies, which I know that there's a lot now, which is great. They see the diversity in the media side of the industry. They see the diversity, you know, they go down to the factories, they see the diversity there. I think that changes the narrative. And it's just, for some reason, that narrative hadn't been changed up until maybe a year or two ago.
Yeah, it's incredible to me. It's incredible to me because, like, I mean, cigars are in terms of their production, is extremely diverse. You know, it's not like you have the you know, the president of the United States smoking a cigar, and he represents, you know, everything there is to be about a cigar, or everything there is to know about a cigar, from the seed all the way to the stick that he has in his hand, or she has in her hand. It's an extremely diverse process, and so to elevate the knowledge of folks, and not even the knowledge, because people know that, but for whatever reason, it kind of gets, you know, kind of swept under the rug, that everybody who touched your cigar is diverse. Everybody who had a hand in creating what you are enjoying in this moment, you are enjoying a product of the world, not just a product of your group or your area, your socioeconomic class. you are actually getting the breadth of the human experience when you touch a cigar. And it doesn't matter whether it comes from ATL Cigar. It's not like we reached out and said, listen, we only want to work with black-owned producers and black farms or whatever. That's ridiculous. We have worked with the best in the business, and it happens to be that the best in the business are extremely diverse. And so for us, we take great joy in that, and want the rest of the world and the rest of the industry to be like, okay, it's time to go ahead and put that thing to bed, put that thing to the side, and let's enjoy what we do, and let's come around that diversity and use that to continue to move forward, as opposed to kind of stay in these silos that we normally find ourselves in.
Let me give somebody an idea of what to do when they ask, what do I do about black smokers coming in my shop? Try saying, hi, my name is Peter. What's your name? I mean, it's about human connection and human relationship. And so the fact that you have guys coming in your shop, which are your demographic, and someone else comes in who's not your demographic, treat them the same way. Try that. It's
absolutely,
it's incredible how simple it is, and yet how hard it is.
Yeah, I think retailers are sometimes worried that they're going to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, and so they opt to do and say nothing.
Yeah,
and then it makes the customer, feel like they're not welcome. Which Correct. I think most retailers, I've not met any retailers that are not welcoming. I remember I was in the Dominican Republic a couple of years ago on a trip, and one of the retailers was like, we have lots of black smokers that come into the store. And I was like, okay. And he was just like surprised. He's like, I don't know, like sometimes like how to handle it. Like what should I say to him? What should I do with it? But I was shocked. He's like, like you should write a story about that. But I was like, I've always known that to be the case. It was like, yeah. I don't know how to handle that. But I know that diversity, like I said, it's just that we all don't know what to say sometimes. And I think we're very worried about, especially in this culture that we're in now, of saying the wrong things. But at the same time, you just have to start that conversation.
Yeah, stick to the stick, man. Yeah. Stick to the stick. Like that's why they are there. Start with their humanity. This is a human being standing in front of you. How would you acknowledge another human being? And then stick to the stick. And you will find out that, there's more commonality there than there is a division, because they're there for the stick. We don't have to talk about anything else. Let's start there. And you'll find that the black smoker is just not to put it, mildly, but this black smoker is just another smoker, somebody looking for a quality cigar, just like you are. So stick to the stick.
You're kind of circling back to the idea of like women in the industry. I do remember when we were in Miami, last year, we met with a potential manufacturer, and I remember the three of us being in the store and noticing he was talking to Peter and Leroy, and like I literally had to like physically sit forward and like get in his line of sight, even though I was already in his line of sight, and like actively be like, hey, I am a co-founder, I am a decision maker. You need to look at me too when you're talking to us, because my vote counts. What I say matters. And so, I think for me personally, it is, in certain circles and in certain circumstances, it is me having to push myself a little bit more. And that's not necessarily my personality. And so, kind of like what I talked about before, where Leroy and Peter encouraged me to, come outside of my comfort zone. And so I do remember that being, something that kind of that I remember, and having to remember, like, I do need to assert myself a little bit more in certain circumstances.
I had a conversation yesterday with a woman who is probably the only owner of a female cigar lounge here in the Atlanta area. And we talked for about 30 minutes. And a lot of our conversation had to do with the pushback that she gets as an owner of an establishment. And she wanted to use an analogy to kind of talk about, her experience. And she was saying that when she was in high school, her high school did not have a girls track team. They only had a boys track team. So they would train right alongside with the boys, and that one of the things that her coach told her was like, it's not about competing with the boys' time. It's about, making the best time for yourself. And I told her, I said, that's a terrible analogy. I would never tell anybody that. I said, because there is nothing about you, there is nothing inherent in your value as a woman that prevents you from running just as fast, just as far, and just as strong in the boys in this industry. There is absolutely nothing. In fact, you have a couple of leg ups on us when it comes to running a lounge and being able to create and gather more clientele that maybe a male who owns a lounge might not. There are things that he's going to miss because he doesn't have your perceptiveness. And so, with Janelle, like, even though she's had a few challenges and has had to assert herself in some situations, like I'm very proud that, Janelle isn't necessarily just seen as a woman that's a part of ATL Cigar Company. She's seen as a full owner, a full partner, and has, not just decision-making capacities, but, to be honest, none of our sticks would have hit market without Janelle. And in my opinion, Janelle has probably the final say because Janelle has the best palate out of all of us. And so if the stick isn't what we've decided that we want the stick to be, and Janelle says we haven't made it yet, then we haven't made it yet, and that stick's not going to hit market. So a large part of our success and us being where we are has to do with Janelle's ability to be an equal member of our team. And so, I think, kind of saying these things and sharing these things, this kind of adds weight to the fact that, like, the old paradigm, the old guard, the old way of thinking, I mean, that's done. We're past that. Cigars are in a new era, in a new phase, in a new time, and we just need to embrace that and kind of move forward.
Anyone that's spent a lot of time with women smoking cigars knows that women do have, in general, a more refined palate than men do, and that's just something that we should embrace and that we do embrace in our brand. And yeah, Janelle said no to some good things, but she's made sure that everything we put out are great things.
Yeah, as we kind of get towards the hour mark, I want to make sure that we do talk about the cigars, because I know that they are the business. So you all sent me some of the different cigars that you have. So we have like the Magic here. This is your newest release. If you want to tell us about that.
Yeah, so the Magic is made at Tabacalera Pichardo, Ace Prime, blended in partnership with Luciano Morales. It has a San Andres wrapper, Pueblo Nuevo binder, and filler is a mix of Pueblo Nuevo, Esteli, and Jalapa. Pueblo Nuevo is a region near Condega on the other side of the mountain range, where Pichardo has a high concentration of farms, owns a high concentration of farms in that area. So it's a different type of flavor. The Pueblo really kind of dominates that cigar, and I think it's going to give people something new they haven't tried before. And so we're really proud of that one, and that one comes out on October 16th. For those who are in the Atlanta area, we're going to have that at Monday Night Brewing's West Midtown location on Trayvord Ave, October 16th on a Saturday at 6 o'clock. So everybody's very welcome to come out and join us for that. And then we also have our Good Trouble, Libertad, and ATL Black as well.
Yeah, so tell us about the Good Trouble, and especially the name.
Yeah, the Good Trouble comes from John Lewis, who was the congressman representing Atlanta for 30 years until he passed. And, he always talked about getting in good trouble. And so for us, a cigar is good trouble. But the good trouble for him was also about fighting for what's right. And so it very much speaks to the heart of our brand and the purpose behind our brand. That's produced at Tabacalera Hernandez and Esteli, Ecuadorian Habano wrapper, double binder from Indonesian Sumatra and Ometepe, and then the filler is Condega, Jalapa, and Esteli. 6 regions of leaf in that cigar, but it's a mild plus cigar. And what we love about it is that as a mild plus cigar, it still has quite a bit of flavor. And so it was what we were looking for in our milder offering.
And how about the Libertad?
Yeah, the Libertad is produced at Aganorsa. It's Aganorsa Corojo wrapper, and then a mix of Criollo and Corojo. It's an Aganorsa Puro. It's a Nicaraguan Puro. And it really has that flavor profile resonant of Aganorsa sticks. So if you like HVC, Illusione, Warped, JFR, the Libertad's going to be something in your wheelhouse. You
have one more cigar, don't you?
Yeah, we have the ATL Black. So the ATL Black was blended by Jesus Martinez, who's actually in New York. It has a San Andres wrapper, Jalapa binder, and Grand Reserva filler from Esteli that's aged more than 5 years. Some ASP tobacco in that as well, just to give it a full body flavor. without the bitterness that often characterizes full-bodied cigars. So this still has a lot of smoothness to it. And so it has this combination of fuerte and suave that we wanted, strong and smooth, to give a Maduro flavor that isn't just tar by the last third.
Now, for those who are not in Atlanta, they can buy from your website, right?
Yes, our website is atlcigar.co, and there's a link to our shop, so you can buy all 3 lines, and then the 4th one coming out, the Magic, that'll be available October 16th.
And we have a special for Deep Cuts subscribers, Deep Cuts followers. You can use the code DeepCuts10 off, DeepCuts10 off for 10% off your order.
Yeah. And I think I'm flashing it up on the screen right now for those who want to check that out. And thank you so much for offering that to our readers. So as we get ready to close out this session, what's the kind of parting thought you want to leave us with, each of you? Parting thought, it could be completely unrelated to what we've talked about, but just kind of, like I said, a kind of lasting thought or idea that, you know, you want people to kind of think about as they think about ATL Cigar Company.
Well,
Go
ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, think about who you're smoking with. You know, think about your community. I think our brand, you know, we've talked in length about it. And so the idea of community and community with those you're smoking with, or your family, your friends, whether they're smokers or not, just kind of consider your community.
My word is if you're outside of Atlanta, you should really plan a cigar trip to Atlanta. You will be blown away by what Atlanta has to offer in terms of stores, lounges, and unique cigar products. So make a trip, come see us, and we'll be glad to host you.
Yeah, my final thought is slow down. One of the things about cigars and the beauty that it provides is it provides an opportunity to kind of take a break from everything that's going on in your life and to slow down a little bit. Whether that's to focus on yourself and to figure out what's going on inside of you, or like Janelle said, to focus on those around you, and to use it as an opportunity for deep connection, whether personally, intimately with yourself, or intimately with those around you. So, take a moment to slow down. And I think that our cigars provide that opportunity where you won't get lost in everything that it is about our cigar. But it provides you an opportunity and a space for respite and to take care of yourself.
Well, awesome. Like I said, I want to thank you guys so much for coming on to the show again. And I'm so glad that this format seemed to work for us and we didn't have any audio or visual issues like we did last time. And I'm really excited to hopefully see you all at some point out in the wild now that COVID is well, I guess it's not going away, but we are learning to live with it a little bit better than we were when we spoke a couple months ago. So yeah. Hopefully in another couple months, we'll be in a completely different place again. So hope to see you all at a trade show in a couple months and out in the wild and have a cigar with you all in person when I'm not trapped in this apartment where I can't do any cigar smoking and such. So thank you all for coming on.
Thank you so much for hosting us. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And that is it. And for those who are watching, go to deepcutslive.com where we have news. We're going to have some news up soon about the ATL Magic. I know we're working on that story, getting it ready for posting. So ATL Magic, and also you'll find the links to the YouTube channel where we have all the other different interviews that have happened under the Deep Cuts banner for like the last year. So thank you all so much, and see you all out in the wild at some point.
Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you.